friends, in today's video I'm going to be going through my free Behance case study template and going through how I use it to make my own case studies, some mock-up resources that I use, and just my general thoughts around creating a portfolio. So if you are a creative looking to put together your own portfolio, you're welcome to get the link in the description of the video to the free Behance case study template in Figma, and let's get started. Also, welcome back to my channel. My name is Fran. I'm a digital designer and I make templates and resources and videos here on YouTube for other creatives to share my creative process, tools to help you work a little bit smarter, not harder. And so if that sounds good to you, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button and let's get into it. So let's be honest, putting together a case study is a project in and of itself, and I feel like that's the reason a lot of us creatives fall behind, is because it's a lot of effort to have done the project and now to make it look really nice. And so that's why I've shared this template. It's a template that I made for myself to use and thought that maybe other people could also benefit from it. And as creatives, I feel like we often linger on wanting to make something perfect and 100% right from the get-go, but I read this quote and it really sat with me, and it goes, make it exist first and you can make it better later. If you know who that quote belongs to, let me know, but I don't know who it's from. But it really stuck with me because I thought you can always improve on things and we're always going to change things, especially in the digital landscape, and so just get started. So anyway, that's the goal of this template and video, is to just help you get started on putting together your portfolio. And so let's do it. So my approach to creating a case study starts off quite structured and then it goes from there. And the process usually goes something like deciding what project I want to do, or if I just have one project in mind, I'll obviously just do that. And then I'll go into the actual project and take out my favorite parts, whether or not they made it to the final design or not, doesn't matter. It's just about what I would like to showcase. If there's any processes and things like that, I'll bring it all into one page where I'm working on the case study so that I can see what all I'm working with and what works well together. And then I'll go through some mock-ups or look at some inspiration to see what would look nice in terms of the actual project, some nice references that are specific to the project, and then I'll start to play around, and that's where it kind of just flows. In terms of mockups, I prefer ones that are compatible with Figma because they're easier to test and iterate on quickly, and Adobe is just
don't do it.
Anyway, so the three main ones that I really like are Mockup Studios, Mockups plugin from LS Graphics, and then Mr. Mockup. Those three are all in Figma. They are paid versions of some of them, and there's also free ones. So I just use the free ones. I'm not making that many case studies that frequently, and you can really get away with really nice free ones. And then there's also a bunch of creative resources on Figma from other creatives who either make free or paid resources and templates and mockups for you to use. So just go search on the Figma community for some mockups. I've linked all of my favorite Figma and Photoshop mockup sites in my stack below, so you're welcome to go and have a look there for any cool inspiration or cool mockups. I recently got an insight to share my process in some capacity, as people often see just the end result of a project and the polished, perfect version of it, and not necessarily the trial and error that it took to get there. And that is also really interesting. It really shows your creative thinking and problem solving in a project, and can often be maybe what employers or prospective clients are looking for, is creative problem solving. And that is something that I think we forget that we actually do in this job and in this role. And so I've had a few cool concepts and ideas that I've left out of case studies that I was like, oh, can't put this in because it's not the final design, but who says you can't put it in? So if there's something that you like, something that you want to show it. It shows your creativity, it shows a different side of you, and shows how creative you are. And so just remember that the journey that you took to get to the final result also matters, not just the pretty and polished result. And
the journey is usually the part that you remember anyways.
Okay, so assuming you've made some really cool mock-ups by now, and now you've got to write about it. I struggle with this part the most, mainly because I'm shy, and I feel like talking about myself is like bragging, and I'm just being really egotistical if I say something turned out nicely. And so in that, I also set up and asked ChatGPT to help me create some prompts for myself to kind of answer and figure out what I did and the result of the project to make it easier for myself to write about myself. And so I've left those in the template for you to also use. Firstly is the client and brief. And so I just want to ground myself in the basics of the project, who the client was or is, what they do, the real world context around why they needed this project, and not really including like anything complicated or over the top here, just a quick overview snapshot of the brand and the challenges that they brought for me to work on. Secondly, that's where I zoom in a little bit on the brief and I explain what the client actually needed and the problem that they were trying to solve, and maybe a little bit of a background on that if it's relevant, and then what the core deliverables were, so what they asked for, if it was a logo, if it was a campaign, whatever it was, those deliverables. It's basically a why this project exists. And then I go into a little bit of an overview of the process that the project entailed, the brainstorming, the iterations, the things that were tested or had to figure out or practice or learn or research even sometimes. The section changes a lot depending on the project because some projects are quite intense and some are pretty chilled. And so I think it's cool to explore and reflect here as well on kind of what did I do and how much effort did I put in, and like where did I grow and learn. And I think that that's a cool way to reflect on that, even if it's just for yourself, to say like, oh, in this project I learned this skill. And then finally the result. And for the final section I talk about the outcome of the project, but from a bit more of an outside perspective, because this is the hardest section for me to talk about. I talk about what worked well, what creative solutions stood out, so if there was anything that was like a fresh idea that came to me, how the things came together in the end, etc. And so I try to be as objective as possible with this. I try to come from an outside point of view because this is really where I struggle to talk about myself and be open, and it makes me feel very vulnerable. And then after all of this writing, I very humbly take it over to ChatGPT and ask it to just help me refine my wording, not to change it, but just help me refine it to make it more succinct and communicate the process behind the work a little bit better. So yeah, I like to keep my own tone of voice and my own vibe and energy in it, but there's definitely some phrases or better ways of wording things to make it sound a little bit nicer and make it flow a bit better and make a bit more sense. It's not about showing off the most perfect version of the work and the most polished thing. It's about showing that you can solve problems creatively and how you've delivered that creative problem solve in a nice, neat little gift with a bow on top. And so sharing the process, the brainstorming and all of that is part of that, and can actually make a project case study look so much cooler if you see where it came from rather than just the end result. And that's my personal opinion, and I think that also shows another side of what being a designer actually is. It's not just making pretty pictures, you're making cool, creative solutions to sometimes really complicated problems, and I think that's pretty cool. So okay, so to recap, pick your favorite parts of the project. They don't have to be the most final design that went out and was the real life thing. They can just be your favorite parts of the project that you worked on. It can be something small, it can be something that you find interesting. Explore interesting and unexpected ways to showcase the work. What often helps me is to go and look at the Pinterest board that I save mockup inspiration to. There's some really cool ideas there and ways of laying out your work. Showcase your process. Your real creative thinking is happening with the problem solving and the iterations that you're doing, so show them. When writing about your work, try and be as objective as possible. Maybe removing yourself from it. Take yourself out of the center stage and talk about the work. If you worked with someone on a project, tag them, mention them, cross-post with them. Collaboration is super cool, and something that I really enjoy seeing is when people work together and collaborate together and make some really cool work. So if you do collaborate with someone, it's really cool to share that work. And then lastly, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Enjoy putting your work together and reminiscing on the creative challenges that you've overcome and the work that you've created. You've worked hard, you've created something new and cool, and it's important to also enjoy that and enjoy the process of putting together your work to share with the world. So yeah, I really hope that these tips and insights helped you or gave you some idea on how to approach your own case studies. If you have used the template or if this video has helped you, please link your case study in the comments below or in the Figma community comments in the template. And yeah, I really would love to see all of your beautiful work. And yeah, thank you so much for watching until this far. If you do like this sort of content, please consider subscribing, and yeah, if you like the video, please give it a like, and all my links are below for anything else that you may need. I do have other templates and another template tutorial for you to watch if you'd like, but other than that, I hope you have an amazing day further, and yeah, bye.